Episode 24. Interview with Nicolas Van Hoorde about the Delta app.
Interested in Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is a very vague concept to a lot of people.
Need to know more about cryptocurrency?
We're going to talk about the basics. This is something that people just have no idea about what crypto is.
How about buying, selling, and mining?
Tony, I think that's one of the things that's going to make us a little different from some other shows.
We're getting our hands dirty.
Then listen to Gary Leland and Tony Sakala, better known as the Crypto Cousins, on the Crypto Cousins podcast. This week's price.
The price of Bitcoin is $9,855. That's up $1,716 or 21% for the last week.
Hello, welcome to the show. Gary Leland here.
And this is Tony Sakala.
And we are the Crypto Cousins. Hey, Tony, got an interview show today. Going to have a good show. Talking to Nicolas Van Hoorde about the Delta app. But before we go on to that, I want to make sure people know that they need to check out our Facebook group. That thing is growing like crazy.
I love our group.
People all the time in there saying, I see people all the time saying, I've been to a lot of groups, and this is by far the best group. No one's like being mean here. Or there's some groups you go in and you ask a simple question, and they go, don't ask stupid questions. Where our group, you could ask the same question and people will answer you, but it might be easier to search the group and you get you see where 5 people have asked it and you see all the answers. But you're welcome to ask the question too. But I think we have a great group, Tony.
We have a great group. It's great to hear from different viewpoints. Sometimes someone has an answer that's a little different than the previous guy's answer. And as you and I know, an answer from 4 weeks ago might not be the same answer today.
Well, that's true. That's true completely. Yeah, that's definitely true. And I also want to make sure before we get an interview, everybody knows they can call us with comments. Our questions at 747-777-9471. That's a place. Tony made that number. It's a great number. If you're, as Tony says, you're luckier just for dialing all those sevens. And we're still looking for our Bitcoin advertiser, Tony. Haven't gotten one of those yet. Don't know if we ever will.
I think we will.
Well, we got our thing was that if you took 2 Bitcoin, if you gave us 2 Bitcoin, you could have all our episodes, which are 2 episodes a week. So that's 104 episodes basically for 2 Bitcoin. Or you could take 1 a week for 1 Bitcoin. So we're waiting to see. I figure someone's got a Bitcoin out there they paid 50 cents for. They go, at 50 cents I could get all those shows. Some people have a ton of Bitcoin that they paid 50 cents $1 for or $100. So I was thinking about charging
you and I
cash.
know the value. The value is immense because these episodes last forever. It's not like you're advertising on broadcast radio where it goes out to the airwaves and then it just fades away. I mean, it goes to Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, but no, it's not being heard again. But our podcasts are being replayed over and over and over.
Oh yeah, you're right. Even episode 1 still gets played hundreds and hundreds of times every month. I mean, so they'll be played. I right now we're probably, I'm guessing at 7,000, 8,000 listens per episode. But I bet during the course of a year, because we just started doing this like in October, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been like 3.5 months or something. I bet during the course of a year, a podcast, as our audience grows, and a lot of people start with episode 1 and listen to them all, I bet these shows will be listened to 20,000 times. So it's a pretty good value, I think. But this week...
I agree.
Cool. This week we're talking to Nicolas. I know I'm going to get this name wrong, but I'm going to pronounce it anyway. And if I do, Nicolas, forgive me. Nicolas Van Hoorde. Hoorde. So I know.
I think Hoorde.
Hoorde, you think?
Nicolas Van Hoorde. I believe so.
He's with the Delta app, and I love the Delta app, Tony. I don't know if you've used it or not, but I actually love it. I was using Blockfolio to track my stuff, but I switched over to the Delta app because some people were talking about it, and I really, really like it, and I recommend it.
I knew you would love it. You love to track it. You know me, I put everything in deep cold storage, and then I forget about it.
Right. Well, I like it a lot. I like to be able to track it. I like it because I can sync it on my wife's phone, okay? And whenever something happens, like if I add a coin or subtract a coin, it automatically adjusts on her phone. So
that's cool. So it's got like a cloud app
Yeah,
feature.
it's
It's all synced. That's
yeah,
really
and actually, I have on my desk. I'm really into watching my stuff. Not that I do much. I just like watching it. I have it on an iPad, an old iPad I can't use really much anymore, but the app works perfect on it. I couldn't get any other apps to work on it because it's so old. I couldn't update the software, but this one works perfect on it. And I put it on there, synced it, and it keeps up to date with up to time with what's happening. I love it. So I like it so much that I wanted to bring on Nicolas to tell us about it. I'm going to read you a little bit about this, though. This is from their iTunes app page. Delta is the ultimate Bitcoin and cryptocurrency portfolio tracker app. Keep track of all crypto coins, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and over 2,000 altcoins. Use the free app for the latest coin prices and market charts in your local currency and get alerts. Make sure you don't miss out. And it was released in September of 2017. But the app is free, but they have a paid version too. And if you go with the paid version, then you get all the new upgrades free of charge. So I went with the paid version. It's a one-time charge, or it's a monthly or yearly charge. So I went with that. But Nicolas, who we're bringing on, is the architect of the Delta app. And like I said, I just really like it a lot. So I wanted to get him on here to ask him some questions about it and share it with our audience, basically. And also I made a link to it for those who don't want to find it, an affiliate link. If you go to cryptocousins.com/delta, that'll take you to the iTunes page. And I'm not sure, since you don't have to buy it, if we get anything from it or not. But I figured, what the heck, I'd put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, let's go to the interview then. Nicolas, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to get this interview done. I am, as I said earlier, a big fan of the Delta app. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Can you give us a little bit of information, like a little background about yourself, and then maybe how you went about and decided to create the app?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I'm Nicolas. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Delta. I think around April, May of 2017, my friend and I, Philip, who were currently employed at the same company, started investing into cryptocurrencies, and we were using Blockfolio at the time, which we still think, and back then as well, is a great app. But we personally thought we could do it slightly different and slightly better, or as time progresses, a lot better. So we started talking, and I think when summer came, we decided to jump ship, basically, and go full for Delta. And we started building the MVP. He did the technical side of things. I'm more of a product guy, designer type of. I have basically a product design background. So I made the designs, Philip made the MVP in React Native, and then I think when September came, we did an internal beta, and then 4th of October, we launched Delta to the public.
You know, the thing I like about this app, and I have an iPhone, and I've used every probably app there is for crypto on this phone at one time or the other. But one of the things I really like about this app that I'm not sure if anyone else does, is I can sync the app on my phone with other devices. Like my wife, she doesn't know a whole lot about crypto, but she likes to kind of see how we're doing. And I move in and out of a crypto, so I always have to go to her phone and change the app. And she'll go, oh, well, we're doing a lot better than I thought, because hers will be old with ones I don't have anymore, or coins I don't own anymore. So the fact I can sync it on her phone is actually a time saver, and it keeps her off my rear end. She's happy when she sees how well we're doing. That's a great concept, I think, right there.
Yeah, it's one of the newer things we've added is indeed the fact that you can seamlessly sync between devices, and it's actually something we wanted to launch before we launched our desktop version, which is planned to release somewhere end of next week probably. And it will work the same way. So basically you download the executable, it will show a QR code on the desktop version, you scan it with your phone, and your portfolio is seamlessly synced with the desktop app. I think it's a great experience, and it's very hassle-free, which I think most of our users like.
So the desktop version, that's going to be sync the same way the phone then does. You just pull up the QR code, go to the sync page on your app, and wham.
Yeah, exactly the same.
And when is that going to come out?
We are planning to release it, I think, somewhere end of next week. And if we don't make that deadline, it will be probably, I think it's a few days after. It's very close. So I think we're close to shipping the beta to our pro users in, I think, next Monday, let's say February 20th or something. And then the public release, depending on the amount of bugs that are found, will follow shortly after.
Very nice. Now, I was looking at your website or your Medium post on Medium. That's under Nicolas. How do you pronounce your last name, by the way?
My last name is Van Hoorde, if you want to pronounce it in English way, but I'm actually from Belgium, so when you pronounce it here, it's Van Hoorde.
Okay. I knew I was pronouncing it wrong when I was trying to pronounce it in your language. I knew I was doing it wrong. But I was looking at your Medium page, and you have 1.6 coming out with Exchange API connections.
Yeah, that's currently in early access for pro users, actually.
Well, how come I don't have that? I have a pro account, and I haven't seen it. Am I just missing it somewhere? Where would I find that? Well,
so how it works, the early access, is that there's, for pro users, there's something in settings, and you'll see early access in there. I
don't see that in mine.
It's an email field, basically, and so if you go to settings...
I see it, early access. I have my email in there.
Yeah, so basically you should have received a welcome mail from us, and in that welcome mail we ask for your Apple ID or Google Play ID, because basically how our early access program works, we use the native options from Apple and Google, so we need your Apple ID or Google Play ID to be able to invite you. So probably the mix-ups went wrong somewhere there. But
I submitted it again. So we'll see what happens. But I do see that now that you've pointed that out. And just to let everybody know, because I don't think we covered this, before we get into the exchanges real quick, I want to make sure we cover this real quick, Nicolas. You have a free version and a paid version. And, of course, the paid version has more than the free version. Can you kind of tell us what so far it has? And then let's go into the pro access thing, too.
Yeah, so how we see it, so Delta is a free application. Everybody can download for free and actually use it completely free. There are no limits whatsoever, but we do have a Delta Pro subscription, which is for more advanced users. Basically, we want to do extra features on top of the basic features we already have. Like, for instance, we talked about the syncing between devices. Every user can.
That's only on the pro. That's only on the pro.
Well, it's free for everyone, but free users can only keep 2 devices in sync, whereas pro users can keep 5 different devices completely in sync. And the pro actually carries over to those devices. So if you sync with your wife's phone, for instance, that phone will have Delta Pro as well. And then we have indeed the Exchange API connections. Everybody said, okay, I'd like to pay for this, but we again decided it makes sense to make this available for everyone. So what we did was everybody can connect with up to 2 different exchanges. If you are a pro user, you can connect with an unlimited amount of exchanges. So if you would ever support, let's say, 15 different exchanges API connections, then you can, as a pro user, connect with all 15 of those, whereas a free user is limited to only 2. So we really try to make the experience as free as possible, but only for those people that, to be honest, if you are the type of person that has 10 different API connections, wants to sync with different devices, up to 5, you're probably already kind of in the professional, more advanced style of investor. And then I think it makes sense, especially because Delta is completely ad-free. So there are no ads for both free users and for paid users. We don't have any partnerships with ICOs. It's very straightforward, very transparent. And we also have this very important rule, which is different compared to our biggest competitor, which is we don't sell or analyze data. So every piece of data we get is completely anonymized, and we have this engagement that we do not sell this and we'll never sell this to third parties. Also, as a first party, we do not analyze this data. It's something we find very important, and it also means that Delta Pro is our business model, and all our revenue needs to come from this business model to be able to survive as a company.
Well, that's very reassuring to know. So, yeah, that's great information. And that's great how everybody gets the services. It's just the pro members get a bigger bowl of services.
Indeed.
So on the API connections, we were getting into that a second ago. Let's go back to that. From what I'm understanding here, if I sync up my API connections, and since I have the pro account, I can sync them up with all the exchanges I use. Anytime I make a trade, that will show up on my Delta app, on my phone, my wife's phone, my desktop. I mean, I don't have to put in anymore.
No, indeed. So for me personally, when I got my hands on the beta version, what happened is that I put a limit order in GDEX before I went to sleep, and I set a price. And I actually woke up, checked my Delta, and thanks to Delta, I knew my order was executed because already the trade was added automatically. So in the background, we fetch the API connection, so it's completely client-side. The API keys are never sent to our servers. So it was a super awesome experience for me because I didn't even need to check GDEX anymore. I just knew it got executed because Delta already added it thanks to the Exchange API connection.
Well, I think that's fantastic. So every time I make a trade, I don't have to be sitting there going, okay. But you do, even if that didn't work, whenever I bought something and if I used my Bitcoin, I could tell it to take it out of my Bitcoin holdings, and that's where the payment came from, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, but now I don't have to do anything.
No, now you don't need to do anything. So the one thing which is important to stress is we import all the trades. We don't just check your balances. So that's what a lot of other applications do. They just check, okay, you have 2.5 Bitcoins on GDEX, you have 3 Ether on Binance, and they just copy over those balances as your active holdings. But since Delta is very much focused on calculating the profit and the losses you made, we don't do that. We import all the manual trades separately. So that has a lot of advantages. But it also means that, for instance, let's say you deposited 20 Ether to Binance, you used that Ether to do trades. We import those trades. It's important that those 20 Ether you deposited, that you actually have trades that account for that 20 Ether. So you need to get the full picture to get the full picture in Delta as well. So that's very important. And it's something we need to educate our users a bit more about, because they do expect that we sync the balances. But that's not the case. We import all the trades, and we do this very deliberately. And in the future, we'll also import the withdrawals and the deposits, which will make it an even better, complete picture, basically.
Now, let me play devil's advocate. I know a lot of people in crypto are really into super privacy. You know, I mean, this is the nature of this world, I guess. So could someone be on the other side saying, okay, now all my stuff is in one place. You know, all my information is in one place for someone to access.
Well, not really. So as I mentioned, first of all the data is anonymized. So the transactions, for instance, there's no way to link it to a specific person. So for instance, we don't know this transaction belongs to Gary, for instance. We do not know that. And even if somebody would be able to get access to the data, which I think wouldn't be possible because we have very strict security procedures in place, but even then it would not be possible. And also, as I mentioned, the API keys is a very privacy sensitive piece of information. That's why we have lots of things in place. So first of all, which is also different from competitors, we don't allow the user to enter keys that have a higher permission access than read-only. So when you create API keys, you can say, okay, these keys can be used to read my trades, but there is also an option to say you can actually use these keys to do trades, or even a step further, to enter to do withdrawals and deposits. For the user safety, we will actually block keys that are too high of a permission level. So that's the first thing. And second of all, the keys are completely client-side. That means that the connection to the exchange is completely done from the phone to the exchange, and there's never any Delta server in there somewhere. It's completely directly linked to the exchange, which means that the API keys are the only piece of information that when you sync to a different phone, you need to re-enter again, because we have a strict policy to keep it client-side.
Okay. And I found my Delta email. It went to my junk folder for some reason.
Okay.
So I feel better about that now. You did send it. Now I can go in there and set myself up. And so will the Delta desktop app and the be in the App Store for Apple or Google Play when that comes out?
Well, I think it will be both. So first of all, our homepage is a bit underwhelming. It's very, very, very basic. So we have a completely new homepage
basic
plan.
Is right.
Yeah. So we have a completely new homepage plans for when desktop launches, which will have more basically text and more images showing off the features of all our products on all devices. And so basically you will be able to download the DMG. And there will also be an option to download from the Mac App Store, but that will probably come in a later stage.
Let me tell you a couple of things I like about this app, just so the audience will know, and you're aware of these, but they may not be aware. Number one, I love how you can have it in minimized mode, I'm going to call it. You can have it so that everything's really big in there, which kind of when you're starting out, you may want it there until you get comfortable with it. But after you get used to it, then you can minimize it. And the header is almost all gone. You can increase the font size. That's kind of cool. Another thing, I have an old iPad here, iPad mini I brought from the house because it hardly worked anymore. We couldn't really use it. We couldn't update it anymore. So I brought it up here to use as I have 4 monitors. I was going to use it as a 5th monitor and just have it sitting here with nothing but my crypto on it. None. Not one of the plugins would work on it. Yours works perfect on it and syncs. It's the only plugin for crypto that has anything on it that I can get to sync with this old iPad. I thought that was kind of cool that it synced with an old iPad that nothing else would. But you know what I would really like to see you get on here? The one thing that I think is really neat that I think you need to add, can I give you a recommendation?
Is it landscape mode?
Nope. I don't think I would like that. Yeah, have you ever used Bitcoin Ticker?
Yeah, I have.
And you can see, I can open up my phone and see without going into Bitcoin Ticker on there the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, the widget. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish y'all had that widget. That would complete everything to me if y'all had that widget on there.
Yeah, the widget is definitely on our roadmap. So it will be added in the next 2 to 3 months probably, and probably I would say April-ish. So it's definitely something that we'll add, but we want to do some more stuff in the application itself first, and then we'll move on to things like widgets and having watch support and everything. So we're definitely, it's on our radar and it will happen.
Another thing I like about this a lot is you have the watch list. And the watch list is not part of your portfolio. Because on some of the other apps, you kind of like have to put it in there as though you own it, just so you can see it. Yeah. Where this one, you just scroll to the left, and there's your watch list. I also like the feature. This is real cool, I think. I don't know when I would use it, but in the settings, you can set this so you can shake the phone. Yeah. And all of a sudden, all the values, the money values, disappear. So if you wanted to show someone your portfolio, you could shake your phone and say, here's what I own, or you can look at what I'm into, and they can look at it and not know how much you had. I was at a meetup a couple of weeks ago, and this kid said, let me show you what I own, and he's showing me his portfolio with how much he has, and he was a young kid, so not only did he not know any better, he didn't have a lot of crypto yet. And he goes, you want to show me yours? I said, no, I'm not going to show you mine. This isn't a show me yours, show me mine situation. So, but with the fact you can just shake that, and it removes all the content. And then I also like how you can. This is so easy to use. I'm sorry, listeners, if I'm just going crazy about this, but I really like this app. On the top left, I can change it so it sorts by lowest cap, lowest price, biggest gainers, biggest losers. I wouldn't want to ever sort by biggest losers. I'm too much of a positive kind of guy. Then on the top right, I can change it to all time, which that's kind of cool sometimes to look at it. Our last 24 hours. I put a lot into this app, and I know I'm kind of like going off about it a lot. I'm going to go, Gary's not been this excited about anything. But I really find this to be a great, great tool.
Yeah, and we want to keep on expanding on it, but also keep it user-friendly. I think that's one of the things that helps Delta grow very fast, is that it's the other applications are there. There's some level of expertise that you need to be able to fully grasp how to start working with it. Whereas with Delta, we kind of wanted to design it in a way that even users that are not as tech savvy as other users in the cryptocurrency community are able to pick it up, enter some transactions, and use it like everybody else. So yeah.
So we know you have the desktop coming out, and you told us that we have the Sync Exchange in 1.6. Anything else coming out in the near future that you can tell us about that we can look forward to?
Yeah, so a couple of things actually. So first of all, we want to keep expanding on the API syncing like you just mentioned. So I said that we currently import the trades. We want to import withdrawals and deposits as well. Something that is very linked to it and asked a lot by users is the ability to actually manually add withdrawals, deposits, and also transfers. So you can actually start adding, okay, I transferred 1 Ether from Binance to my wallet and I paid this amount of transaction fee for it. So that will be added very soon as well. I think that will help users that really, really want to have the complete picture with the exact amount of transaction fees that they lost in their a lot of options. Something that also will add is a pass lock and fingerprint / face ID in there, so people can lock up Delta, so older people cannot access it without the permission of the owner of the phone. Also, something we'll add, which is more for advanced users, is the ability to import trades via the CSV format that a lot of exchanges support. For instance, Bittrex API only goes back 30 days. If you want to get the full history of your Bittrex trades, then you'll need to import a CSV, so we'll have support for that. Also, something we find really important is the fact that the user should be in complete control of their own data. So what we'll add is something where the user can export his data to CSV as well. It's something that our users from the United States will find very useful for their tax declarations, for instance, but also just for people that really want to know, okay, this is the data that Delta has, and this is the data I own, so I can actually download a file, so I'm the owner of that data. And then maybe the last thing I think I can share is that next to the watch list, so where the watch list is now, there will be something at the top where you can actually alternate between the watch list and the market list, and the market list will show the coin market cap style of list where you can see, okay, the highest market cap is Bitcoin, and then the full list, and you can search in there. You can see how the market cap evolved, how every coin evolved without having to add it to your watch list, basically.
Very cool. Do you ever plan on adding wallets someday?
So we have the API syncing is the first step, but we can also indeed ask the user for their wallet address, and then we can try to check the transaction on that wallet address and also import those trades. So that's definitely also on our roadmap. Other stuff I can share, and I already quickly teased it, I think a few days ago on Twitter, is the option to get a dark theme, which some users requested. And order books is also something we currently have planned to add with the trades and the spread in there as well. So we're definitely keeping on adding stuff. And it's also important to say that 1.6 also will have support for transaction fees being BNB and KuCoin shares, which is also something users really wanted. So it's in there in 1.6, and we'd like to keep on improving with other stuff. Also, actually, coming pretty soon is the option to set a third and a fourth currency. So now you can switch if you tap the portfolio values between your USD and Bitcoin value, but then you can say, okay, if I tap it another time, it shows me the value in Ether or in NEO or any currency you want. So that's definitely stuff where we want to improve upon. And it's also not only about adding new stuff. We listen to the feedback from our users. Like we have currently support as one of the only apps for multiple portfolios. So you can create up to 10 different portfolios as a pro user. But we got feedback from our pro users that it's not super easy to get access to the pop-out window to switch portfolios. So we're revamping that as well to make that better. And as as time moves on, we'll try to keep on listening and add improvements to our existing features as well as add new features constantly.
Wow, that's a lot. You guys got a lot on the horizon that you're planning on coming out with. And I want to let everybody know, all the listeners, Nicolas is not paying me anything to come on the show here. You know, this is not a paid promotion. This is just something that I like, so I wanted to make sure and share it with anyone. Nicolas, before we go, do you have anything else you want to share, or where can people follow you or find out more about Delta?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank everybody that has been really kind about the development and Delta itself. So we've been on Reddit a lot, we've been on Twitter a lot, and the amount of positive reactions we've got has really helped us to keep on going and stay even more motivated than we already were. We want to make Delta your number one application. We know there's still things to add, things to improve, but we're destined to make it happen. And I think let's say end of next month, or definitely the month after that, we'll be convinced that Delta is not only the best and the fastest solution out there, but probably the only solution out there that makes it all happen on all different platforms, going from desktop, iPads, tablets, other platforms, and even going towards Apple Watch and the sorts.
Nice. Well, where can people follow you or find out more information about Delta? Where should they go?
Well, first of all, like I mentioned, the website itself needs a revamp, but you can already visit it if you want to download Delta and give it a try via getdelta.io. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are twitter.com/get_delta. And for other things, you can always follow me personally, which is @NicolasVH. And we're also very active on Telegram and Slack, so you can join our communities via telegram.getdelta.io and slack.getdelta.io.
Well, cool, very cool. And we'll have to, after you get a lot of these things done and get going, we'll have to bring you back on the show someday in the future and talk about where you're at then and where you're headed from then. But hey, thanks for coming on the show. I've really enjoyed this interview, and like I said, everybody out there, Nicolas is not paying to be on here. This is not a crypto center stage show. This is just something I personally enjoyed and wanted to find out more information on and share with you. So thanks again, Nicolas.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. I really, like I said, I love this app, Tony. So I just thought this was, and this wasn't a paid interview. I want to make people show. We did this because we like the app. So we weren't paid anything for this, Tony.
Okay. Well, then Nicolas and his team have done a really great job. I do think it's a great app. It's I'm probably good with the free version, but for you, this is the perfect app.
It is the perfect app. I love it. Well, I'm going to give a big thanks to everybody for listening. This went overboard as normal, so I'm going to say let's get out of here, Tony. But thanks, everyone, for subscribing and for the reviews you leave us on iTunes. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Tony?
Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. We've got some great contributors at Patreon, and we have our anonymous Litecoin contributor, and we really appreciate all the contributions.
Yeah, thanks, everyone, for listening. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Crypto Cousins podcast. Please share this podcast with anyone you know that is interested in cryptocurrency. Your friends can subscribe on iTunes at cryptocousins.com/iTunes and on Android at cryptocousins.com/play. If you want to know more about Tony or Gary, just go to tonysakala.com or garyleland.com. Make sure and join us on the next episode, and thanks for listening. The Crypto Cousins podcast and information in the podcast are not intended as investment advice. Cryptocurrencies are risky. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always seek professional advice before making any investment. Investing in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies may present tremendous risks. Please understand that you are using any and all information available on or through the Crypto Cousins podcast at your own risk.